Hello, everyone, and welcome into the channel here on this Monday morning. No ADP chasing today. ADP chasing will return. Don't fear. We have plans for that. We just haven't quite ironed it out, without our fearless leader, Sam Sherman, behind the scenes, basically doing any and all prep work before the show. Little secret here at Ship Chasing Incorporated. Not a ton of prep before we go on air, but we do have some great stuff prepared for you today. Pat Corain and I are going to take a look at the 4 rookie quarterbacks who have played significant snaps this year. We're going to talk about what they have done, what they will do, wins, losses for fantasy, and how we are going to be dealing with them moving forward. So this is the quarterback show here on the channel. Let's get into it. It's Short King Summer, dude. It just feels like no one in fantasy sports ever learns anything. Does he mistime it, or is Brock Bowers just a grown man? Brock Bowers is just a grown man. Dare I say, Rich, football might be back. In the words of Lane Johnson, this offense looks constipated. It's Short King Summer. Well, Corain, it's a very nice time to be doing this, as we just did have Drake Maye record his first official win as a quarterback in the National Football League. I believe
it's his second win by some stat keepers.
It depends. I believe Jacoby Brissett is credited on Pro Football Reference, and this is a Pro Football Reference program. That is where my allegiance is going to lie.
That's fair. Non-derogatory.
Non-derogatory. That's fair. This is kind of neither here nor there. But my brother and father-in-law went to that game. Went to Bears Patriots. They are Bears fans. They're rooting for Caleb Williams. And as that game was beginning, as I was setting my DFS lineups, I was like, oh no, they are not going to have a good time. It's 55 degrees. It's windy. It's rainy. Like, the tenor of the Bears organization. Could the vibes be worse? Like, truly, around the Bears organization, could the vibes be worse right now?
I mean, the defense is good. They just lost to the Patriots, but they didn't. It's not like the Patriots move the ball at will, So you got a good defense. You got a defensive head coach, and you got a good defense. Now, in some ways, it makes the vibes worse because you can't get rid of your defensive head coach and bring in an offensive guy. So you're kind of like stuck in that zone where you're like just looking for an offensive coordinator who's like good enough to be better than Shane Waldron, but not good enough to get a head coaching job. It's kind of a tough spot,
Yeah, I mean, on Monday morning, we've already gotten the Matt Eberflus press conference has been pushed back. Matt Eberflus has been stating they're looking at changing the offensive play caller. The moment for Caleb Williams that really keeps coming back to me is when, I don't remember if this was at the Combine or the Super Bowl, but someone asked Jackson Smith and Jigba about Shane Waldron, and he basically was just like, I don't know how to give a politically correct answer right now, because you would think JSN, he was a 5-star recruit. He played at Ohio State. JSN has a good idea of like how coaches should go about their business. Who's a good coach? Who's a bad coach? Who's doing a good job? Who's doing a bad job? And JSN was probably shocked actually by how poor Shane Waldron was at preparing for games when he was in Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, after JSN had the big game 2 weeks ago, it makes the Shane Waldron hate a little bit more real. You can take it more seriously. I had memory hold that they were in the running to sign Cliff Kingsbury.
I had memory hold that too. You know what? I had memory hold even more, that they were in the running to sign Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson hadn't even officially ruled out leaving for another OC job. Like, obviously the idea would be for Ben Johnson to leave to be a head coach somewhere, but the head coach openings were like the Commanders, and then once the Commanders hired Dan Quinn, no one wants to be head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. Right. So basically, and reports have come out that Ben Johnson wanted the Bears job. Let's get to this a little bit later. Let's get into
so he was. But Ben Johnson wouldn't have been the head coach. He would have been the OC. He wouldn't have left. He wouldn't have done.
Well, that's why I'm saying let's get into this a little bit later, because I think this is part of a larger Caleb Williams discussion about whose fault is it, and all that stuff. So very simple. These are just the Pro Football Focus PFF grades for the quarterbacks this season. a passing grade of 83 for Jayden Daniels, a passing grade, kind of shockingly, of 64.6 for Bo Nix, 58.5 for Drake Maye. Now,
so my understanding of the PFF passing grades is that it's kind of a throw grade. Like it's sort of an accuracy and like, was it a sick throw that graded as like a big time throw? Was it a turnover worthy play? But it's not as holistic as it might seem, I think is my point here. That it's more a grade of the throws you made.
And honestly, this looks relatively accurate to me. I think that Nix, if you add now, Nix is probably this would be fun. Let's click on Nix's game logs. I have a sense that maybe Nix has had some lower lows than the other guys, because Nix was so
Williams
brutal.
Has had some low lows. Williams has had really high highs and really low lows.
Yeah, I mean he had those really great games. He had those very strong games against the bad defenses, and now that they've been playing some more, I guess you'd say, professional.
Theory, no, he's played 2 bad defenses the last 2 weeks.
So Nix starts out the year brutal, plays better against Tampa Bay, brutal against the Jets, not great against New Orleans, and then smashes Carolina and does. I mean, he was very good last week, or I guess yesterday against Kansas City for sure. And the thing that has been so surprising, I think, for Nix, like I knew he was going to run. I knew he was going to be a threat near the goal line and stuff, but he's been like awesome. I would say he has basically been the third best scrambling quarterback in the league, like Lamar, Josh, and then Nix, just like not in terms of runs, but like pure scrambles. Like he's getting sacked at one of the lowest. He's getting sacked at one of the lowest rates. I mean, here is the scramble attempts: 33 scramble attempts for Nix, 6.9 yards per scramble. So actually bet more scrambles than Lamar, more scrambles than Mayfield, more scrambles than Josh.
So Maye had more entering last week, and he only had like 20 yards rushing. They were, I believe, all scramble yards. But Maye had the highest scramble yards per game in the league. So I think I would put Maye up there in the, I think he's probably a better scrambler than Nix, but it's definitely a debate.
Yeah. So honestly, I would say of all the quarterbacks who've played, I mean, the only one who's been disappointing has been Caleb. Like Nix, you're getting the idea that the Broncos would have a winning record, the idea that the Broncos they should have beaten the Chiefs yesterday, obviously. Should have beat the Chiefs. The idea that Drake Maye had like 2 of his best games consecutively without getting anything from Javon Baker, Jalen Polk. Like so much of the Drake Maye thesis was, okay, they take this guy in the 2nd round. They take this guy in the 5th round who's like developmental, but if he hits, he adds something the offense needs. They don't have a deep threat. They're basically playing without a deep threat unless you want to, I guess you could call. Yeah, I was going to say you could call Kayshon Boutte a deep threat.
To me, this is the Drake Maye thesis. Like this, he's hitting in a very, very similar way to what I thought. He's not carrying a rookie, which is one thing I hoped he would do. But I always thought it was kind of like, I want these rookies because they're with Maye, not because these profiles are great. The profiles were never that great. It was draft capital. It was like draft capital and you play with Maye. Was like, wow, I was into Jalen Polk.
Polk I was into way more than you and Gretch. I thought there really was something there. I mean, I really thought there was something there with McMillan too. And McMillan might be delayed because of injury. Like he was active in week 10, but didn't play a snap because of this hamstring injury. Like we will have a chance to reintroduce ourselves to that. But anyway, clearly it has not been Polk and Baker doing anything for Drake Maye. The 3 wide receivers who ran the most routes yesterday, Kendrick Bourne just outright benched, by the way. Why was Kendrick Bourne, if he's going to be benched, why was he not traded? Like, why was he not a conditional round 6
also, he's like,
back to the 49ers?
He's like 11 months removed from an ACL. Like it's strange to like bring him back and then give him a run and then bench him.
Yeah. It is very bizarre.
I mean, honestly, it's kind of crazy that like the Bears and the Patriots played and we came out of that like being like, we got to see some coaches lose their jobs in Chicago.
In Chicago.
That is so bad. Like this Alex Van Pelt offense is not good. The defense has been horrible all year. Like it's real embarrassing.
All right, I'm workshopping this take, and I don't really know if I believe in it, but let's workshop it. In a way, the bad habits that Maye learned playing at North Carolina serve him so much better than Caleb playing in these pristine conditions with a great offensive coach and a great set of wide receivers at USC. Now, obviously, the end of USC, but the end of USC went flammable too, right? So the last 5 games of Caleb's USC career, it was like he's crying on the sidelines. Like the defense is giving up a bazillion points. And Caleb was still playing well in those games, but like Maye just constantly being under pressure and throwing to Devontae Walker, who we thought maybe was good, but turns out is not an NFL player. Is just not an NFL player.
Yeah.
Like maybe it was just
imagine if Maye had been thrown to Tylan Wallace.
Yeah.
Then we'd really see.
Like Tylan Wallace is like, bro, Tylan Wallace was a great player at Oklahoma State. Tylan Wallace at Oklahoma State, like Devontae Walker wishes. Yeah.
He truly wishes. He desperately wishes.
This is basically the point. This is what I'm getting at, is that Maye is more used to playing this kind of backyard scramble, keep the play alive style of football.
Well, I guess I understand. I think I generally agree with the commenter, but I want to clarify because like Caleb, his whole deal was like kind of backyard football in the sense that he was scrambling around and he was extending the play, right, doing the Mahomes, style like big play stuff. He made a lot of mistakes out of structure, which was popped up as a red, like a lot, which popped up as a red flag for me when I was reviewing his stuff. But he also made like a lot of really exciting plays. I think that to me that the point is that like, I've watched the QB school stuff on Maye, and like I know his footwork is kind of a work in progress and everything, but it's sort of like he's not seeing ghosts, right? He's he's keeping his eyes downfield. He's like executing well under pressure for the most part. He makes some like bad throws. He makes some like, oh God, like I want that throw back type mistakes. He had one yesterday. He said he was trying to throw the ball away, but I don't even know if that's true. He might have just not seen the guy. It was a really bad throw, but he is like, he's always like moving his feet, and he's not set as much. Like when you watch like the breakdowns, it's like, look how, like if he had his base set and then he could like fire, it'd be like such a more accurate throw or like more consistent delivery. But like he's been training to be behind this offensive line, basically. Like he's constantly like, he's like a little magnet that like looks for space in the pocket. And then that's why I think he's such a good scrambler, is that like when he decides to scramble, he's already sort of positioned himself near space. While he was looking to throw, he's kind of moving around. So I'm sure that like, if he didn't do that, he would be more consistent. I mean, his accuracy is like awesome when it's awesome, but it is not consistent. He misses throws. I'm hopefully, my hope is, I mean, this is crazy, right? Get the guy an offensive line. What about that? And then maybe we can work on a stable base.
46% highly accurate throw percentage from Drake Maye.
Is that good or bad?
Well, let's compare that to, I don't know, who do you want to compare? Let's compare it to Burrow. 53% for Burrow. Let's compare it to Lamar. 51% for Lamar. Okay. So it seems low. I'm gonna guess like much lower than Tua, lower than Levis, lower than Josh Allen. Yeah, this seems really bad.
It's higher than
he's below. Weirdly, he is below Caleb Williams. He is below Spencer Rattler. I wonder. This seems like a rookie thing, though. Actually, looking at it, because we have Daniels here, we have Caleb here, we have Maye here. Where is
Winston being there is interesting, because I think the thing with Drake Maye, one of the reasons I was always very excited about him is that like if you look at his big time throws in college on deep throws, he kicks ass. So those are like dimes, right? Like downfield, like holy shit throws. And he's great there. And like I will trade overthrowing a dude on like a 10-yard in that maybe gets picked off. Like I'll trade like 2 of those. You're gonna give me like a sick 50-yard bomb. I'll two overthrows over the middle. Yeah, great.
Well,
Deal.
that should be what offensive coordinators are really prioritizing right now, because it's like, dude, we can get Gardner Minshew if we want to throw a bunch of crossers. Like we can get Andy Dalton if we want to build the entire offense out of that. But what is so irreplaceable? I mean, this is going to sound bad given how miserable Flacco has been the last 2 games. But the thing that like Flacco and Jameis Winston are doing is they are not just taking the first read that the defense is giving them. They are not doing kind of what the Chiefs offense is doing. They are not just taking the 5-yard spacing route. They are constantly trying to put pressure on the safety, because that's such the thing about the too high safety, multiple defenses, shell coverage thing that actually like is so funny that you don't think about, is like a defender can be in the area of the play, but they still have to make the play. MVS's touchdown yesterday, great example of this. There are roughly 3 defenders in the area of that first Marquez Valdes-Scantling touchdown, but they all of them took the wrong route. They all just kind of misplayed it by a hair, so MVS catches it, basically untouched. It was, and Carr is a good example of that. Carr, you don't want, like, no one wants Derek Carr to be their quarterback, but like if you ask him to, make some plays and make some throws, like he can do that. And I don't want Caleb Williams turning into a check down artist. That's been a common complaint of him kind of these last couple of weeks, is like, oh, well, he keeps taking all these sacks. He took 9 sacks against the Patriots. Can you just find the check down? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, obviously it would be pretty nice if you could just find the check down instead of eating every sack. But in a way, you're kind of asking Caleb to not be who he is if he just wants to find the check down. The thing that made him great was his ability to extend plays and find guys down the field.
Yeah, but I think with Williams, you just need more like consistency. You need more just like keeping the chains moving.
There's no consistency.
There's no consistency. Yeah. It's kind of like a running back who's like always searching for like the big play. And some of those running backs, they just eventually do learn, like, I have to take what's there, and then they'll rip off the big play. It's paired with chunk gains.
To your point, Caleb Williams leads the NFL in poor throws by Pro Football Reference. I don't know who grades this. He leads actually, this is so funny. The only quarterback who has a percentage of poor throws per pass attempt, excluding spikes and throwaways, only Anthony Richardson is worse. Let me tell you, that is not the cadre that you want to be in. You don't want to be there. Whereas look at who's at the bottom. Exactly who you'd expect. Well, I would not expect Daniel Jones to be there. Yeah. But the rest of these guys, I would.
But look, Maye's pretty close to the bottom. And that's why I think, like, so I said I'd trade the 2 overthrows for Maye. I think one of the things that happened with Maye from like a scouting perspective, potentially, is that like when he misses a throw, sometimes it's like so bad. Like it's such like a head scratching miss that I think it almost like counts in people's minds for like 3 misses, Like,
that's a good point.
The rate at which he misses throws, I don't think it's super high. It's just that like sometimes he misses. You're like, what the hell, man? Like I've pretty much watched every snap since he's been in the league, and it's frustrating. Like when he misses a throw, like you're like, come on, like what was like, because it can be quite bad, or like an interception like directly to a defender, But it's not like you're just like every throw, you're like, it most of the time. I mean, he impresses me more with the throw than he doesn't, Like when he's in rhythm, he can really be accurate. So it's encouraging. It sort of matches with what I would have thought, but it's actually still encouraging to see.
So overall, I mean, obviously, you and I are very big on Drake Maye. We're very big on Drake Maye. I actually and we haven't even talked about Jayden Daniels yet. I had Maye ranked over Daniels.
Me too. Me too.
For fantasy purposes and for real life purposes. And the Jayden Daniels story is still left to be told, right? There's a lot going on there, a lot feeding into that. I mean, this is not a very popular thing to talk about in the middle of the season, but like Jayden Daniels is 23 years old. He might have even turned 24, actually.
Matt. I think Daniels is playing so well.
Oh, no, that matters in terms of evaluating the other guys relative to him, in my opinion.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, like
that's true.
So Jayden Daniels, right now, I need to see if he turned 24 so that I don't lie. Jayden Daniels is going to turn 24 in less than a month. He turns 5 weeks. He turns 24 on December 18th. At the age that Caleb Williams is right now, so Caleb Williams does not turn. That's so funny. They're a month apart. Caleb Williams is 22. So at the same age, that was Jayden Daniels, like kind of breaking out at LSU, but not really, of like having it. Because that's the other funny thing about Jayden Daniels. He had one season at LSU where he was just okay. He definitely was not bad that season at LSU, but he was just okay. He had 17 passing touchdowns. He had 3 interceptions. Obviously, he ran very well, 885 yards and 11 touchdowns. But he wasn't good enough to declare for the NFL draft. He's 22. He's 22 years old, and he's like, I'll give it another year.
Yeah. Well, even entering, because I've went back and watched some of Connor Rogers and Trevor Sikkema's breakdowns on these guys entering the college football 2023 season, and my impression was that like Daniels was not in the conversation really even for like a day one pick. That he was
like a Dak, like third round maybe at best. Yeah,
but like like a very intriguing guy, but like not just like the consensus opinion on him was like not anywhere near where he ended up going. So I mean, I think just tells you how important that final year was to it. And that made him, I was a little bit nervous about, what his floor was, because it's one season that takes him from like intriguing developmental guy to the number 2 pick in the draft over, a guy like Maye who'd been kind of in that conversation entering the season and then, put together a year that wasn't as exciting as people hoped, but was still good enough for him to go number 3. So, I think for me, I was like, man, I don't know. Like, he's playing with Malik Neighbors. He's playing with Brian Thomas. They both go, first round. Neighbors is seen as, outside, if Marvin Harrison wasn't in the class, the absolute locked in number 1 wide receiver in the class.
True.
So that was kind of, and then, he's like constantly taking hits. He doesn't seem to know how to protect himself. So you're like, the floor is a little lower here than I would like. The thing is, though, is like, he's just he's like crazy. He's just really good.
He's so good. He's so good. Yeah, like that. So, I'm not meaning to. None of this is meant to. I'm not saying he's like terrible or anything like that. He weirdly, like, look at this. Like, he has not thrown the ball deep, by the way, as much as we thought he was going to.
It has increased over the weeks, although
fewer deep attempts than Sam Darnold or Kyler Murray, for instance.
Right. I think it was last week he was going against, they played the Giants last week? Yeah.
That sounds right.
Yeah, last week I kind of flagged that he would, like, the Giants are taking away deep balls pretty well, and I thought maybe his attempts would come down. But he had a 0 in the first meeting with the Giants. He did not throw a deep ball. And then from like weeks 3 through 8, his deep ball rate was much higher. So I think part of it is like the offense was pretty conservative to begin the season.
Yeah.
And has since opened up a little bit. But the thing about Daniels is that, like, when he does throw deep,
so good.
He's so good. So you kind of, it's like, he really fits the modern NFL pretty well. because he's
That's so true. He's taking the checkdowns as often as they're there. They're doing the Mickey Mouse pistol stuff with McNichols and Eckler out there. He's getting Zach Ertz the ball 7 times a game. But then if you fall asleep, if you creep up, if you're not paying attention, bang, Noah Brown, 70-yard defensive pass interference or whatever.
Yeah, he will punish you. I mean, he's up to an 11% deep rate this year, which is not like crazy high, but it's pretty good. It's quarterback 13. So he's like challenging these safeties and everything. He's keeping
Noah Brown,
these defenses honest.
Noah Brown, by the way, leads the National Football League in per DPI. I can't remember if it's DPI yards or total number of DPIs called against him, but pretty impressive for
just maybe don't just see what happens. Just see what happens.
See what happens. Maybe he goes full De'Ami Brown and just drops a touchdown, just like it's in his hands, and he just drops it. This is a obviously there's a lot of football left to be played, but where do you imagine that Jayden Daniels gets drafted in Best Ball Mania 5 next year?
Well, I mean, I think there's probably going to be like a larger... So quarterbacks went later this year than they had. And I don't love my elite quarterback teams. So now the problem is that next
year... Imagine if they had Henry on them, though. Then you'd love them.
Well, that's true. I guess that's true. But, I mean, are people... Elite quarterback doesn't seem like... are you excited about going elite quarterback? Or are you rather just like...
Lamar, you are. Lamar and Hurts has 10 rushing touchdowns. It's week 10 right now. Jalen Hurts could legitimately end up with 20 rushing touchdowns. You wouldn't even really be surprised. But in a way, that then you don't really... Also, the field is going to get woke to this stacking thing. You want to talk about what's going to be next year? What are we going to be talking about? It's going to be... Look at the roster combinations, bro. CeeDee Lamb is 5 times more likely to be on a Dak Prescott team. If you think about it, you're actually overstacking at that point. What you need to do is you need to be taking CeeDee Lamb with X, Y, and Z. I
don't think that's not the conversation I'm going to be having. I think the conversation.
No, Pat, I promise you that you will.
It's like a 500-person field. How many Dak teams are even there? How many CD teams even get in? You know what I mean?
Let's just here.
I think if we're talking about a different format where you're competing against, but I think all the stuff of you got to be unique in the finals, extremely thin.
You might find it extremely thin, but there are a lot of people who have to churn out 400 hours of best ball content that are going to be.
Say really I'm not going to stack CD with Dak because I might get to the final and there's other CD Dak teams. Strikes me as, I mean, this literally happened last year.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, of course I want Dak because just
CD and Dak on 2,000, 26,000, let's call it 27,000 teams. CD and Caleb really Williams on 2,318 teams. Well, that might matter a little bit. I don't know. I will say I'm not ready to say it doesn't matter, and I'm not ready to say that I am going to.
If we were compete, if it was a thing where we all advance and then we compete, if it was the main event, right? If this is a big best, it was a best ball main event. We compete over a 3-week sprint. All of this type of stuff, I think, would be much more important. But I mean, you're getting to the fun. I think you should be prioritizing your team's ceiling, the ability for your team to hit a sweet outcome in a single week. That's what you should prioritize right now. The idea
this
that
is probably
different from everyone else's sick outcomes is way further down the list for me. Prioritize your own point total because you need to score a ton of points 3 weeks in a row. 3 weeks in a row, you need to score a ton of points to advance out of the pods and then to win the final. So I think if you're doing something that hurts your own ceiling, it's hugely negative EV. Even if it's theoretically, you're oh, but this is becoming hit this super thin outcome where this dude scores more points than the quarterback stacked with my number one wide receiver. First of all, you have multiple quarterbacks, so just stack up your guy, and then you're gonna draft another quarterback anyway. So there's outcomes where you're getting what you're saying you need to do by not stacking anyway, with still getting the benefits from stacking, which might be why you're in the final in the first place.
So I'm just looking at the advance rates of the elite quarterbacks this year. I'm wondering if there's a little bit of downwind CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson year 2 super disappointment that feeds into this. Where
we also got Trevor Lawrence disappointed in his second year.
Burrow,
no, sorry, his third year. The hype year was his third year.
I'm trying to remember what year Burrow busted. Did Burrow bust in year 2 or year 3?
I can't remember. He might have been.
No, Burrow was awesome. Burrow was awesome in year 2. Yeah,
it was year 3 he busted. But both those guys were kind of like, their year 3 was kind of their year 2, because you had the Urban Meyer year, and then you had Burrow got hurt as a rookie, and then he didn't get chased till his second year. So like the year we got excited was year 2, was year 3 for both those guys.
I think this is true. I think there's going to be a lot of fear of pocket passers just in general, just like any like Stroud. Stroud and Mahomes, Josh Allen has a negative advance rate. Brock Purdy has more rushing yards than Josh Allen. So,
right. So
all of that is
Daniels, to answer your question, I think Daniels probably goes like 4th round.
I think it could be higher depending on how he finishes the year. It could be higher depending on how they finish the year and depending on who they add next to Terry McLaurin. Because I think you do not want to run into a Super Bowl window with Noah Brown, Luke McCaffrey, Zach Ertz, Ben Sinnott, De'Ami Brown, kind of as you need your T. Higgins, right? You need your Michael Gallup.
Well, he's available,
No, T. Higgins is going to be a New England Patriot. T. Higgins is going to get $1 billion to be a New England Patriot.
We've seen. I'm hoping that wide receivers feel differently now that they see Maye can actually play. But like we saw a lot of wide receivers refuse to
not want to go there.
Yeah. If you were a wide receiver, you'd still probably rather go to the Commanders than the Patriots. Like the Commanders look like they could start making noise like right now. They got a good defense, So I think the ultimate point here is that it's a good year to be T. Higgins. Like multiple teams desperately need a wide receiver with a young quarterback.
Brother, it's it'll be like a good year to be. It's a good year to be Mike Williams again. Mike Williams Mike Williams got traded mid-season and is gonna end up making more money after disappointing.
Is Jacoby Myers a free agent? Because it would be a great year for Jacoby Myers to be a free agent.
Believe he is. I believe Jacoby Myers is a free agent.
He signed wide receiver class because these dudes are about to make a lot of money.
No. Jacoby Myers has one more year. Although to be honest,
out of that contract,
Jacoby Myers might be like, you know what? I'm holding out, dude. I'm holding out. I'm only due $9 million. I'm holding out. Contract extend me.
When Jacoby Myers holds out, the wide receiver market, it's gone too far. So here's the UFA first spot track. Yep. Stephon Diggs is a unrestricted free agent. That sucks for Diggs.
Let me where will you share this link with me so that I can share the screen?
Yeah, put it in the private chat.
Diggs that's kind of interesting for it to be Diggs because he will be theoretically eligible to be back after the pup period, like 11 months, like what TJ Hawkinson did. He should be a month ahead of TJ Hawkinson, so he should be able to be back. That to me feels like a spot where the Texans probably just re-sign him.
That's what you do, I think. You just re-sign with the Texans. I don't think you want to change teams at 31 coming off an ACL. That's dangerous. It's a dangerous move. But so that leaves right. So who actually hits free agency? Keenan hits free agency for sure.
Keenan will that feels like a Chief, right? He feels like DeAndre Hopkins again.
Or Kelsey. Kelsey finally just goes on tour.
Amari Cooper? Amari Cooper will be 31.
Don't you think he probably re-signs with the Bills?
Man, I don't know. The Bills, after last year, are so hesitant to give out these contracts to old guys now. I mean, Liam would be a better analyst of this than I would, but
the problem with not signing Amari Cooper is that, like, as soon as you let him go, you're like, all right, now we need to find a receiver. He's a really solid contributor, kind of an Amari Cooper type. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's not. I guess it depends what he's asking for, but he would be.
Well, and I mean they have Shakir, Keon Coleman. They might not want to spend the money. What I'm looking at this list at is I'm saying which one of these guys can make any of these rookie wide, like which one of these teams looks at their situation, the Broncos, the Bears, the Patriots, the Commanders, and they say, we're going to do what the Texans did. We got the great year out of our rookie quarterback. Let's add on. Let's fire. Now the Bears tried to do it. This is what I wanted to get to. This is what I wanted to get to with the Bears. The Bears ownership and front office is so stupid, so beyond moronic, because they had the opportunity to wipe the whole slate clean, not do a year of the lame duck head coach, hire Ben Johnson, hire Kellen Moore, whoever. I mean, Kellen Moore, not as hot of a name now. Well, he will be again after this year. But basically, I guess the answer is probably the Patriots. The Patriots and the Commanders both should be trying to purchase someone off this list.
Yeah, no, I think they will. Like, they have to. I think T. Higgins with Daniels or Maye is very fun. Because, like, you see Drake Maye, he mostly does this to Hunter Henry, but he had one to Kayshon Boutte where he will, like, there's a play where, like, basically the defenders don't know that the ball is coming. It's almost like a seam route, you know, but like kind of like a go route down the seam. And Maye is basically going to throw it at the back of the defender's head. And the receiver needs to turn around and go over the top and scoop it, right? So we've seen this from Hunter Henry. Kayshon Boutte, I believe, was double covered on the one yesterday. Didn't have a chance on it. Wasn't able to make the play. But like that kind of throw, like I'm pretty sure T. Higgins would be pretty sick for that kind of thing. Like Maye seems to like that kind of throw. And then Daniels, you know, throwing downfield to a big target. That seems pretty fun. So yeah, I'm pretty into T. Higgins ending up in either spot. And my guess is that you know, not that it would be only those two teams, but both those teams would have a lot of incentive and a lot of money.
And both have a lot of cap space. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we can wish for T. Higgins, but this is what we're getting. Darius Slayton is a 2025 New England Patriot.
Honestly, like, dude, no joke. Like, fuck yeah. Let's go.
Huge win.
Like,
huge
give
win.
me Darius Slayton on the, like, their receiver core is so bad. Polk does not look like he can play. Douglas is a really solid slot. Boutte, I'm not even sure Boutte's any good at all. He's like kind of their number one right now, but I don't think he's very good. Austin Hooper and Hunter Henry are like the most competent receivers.
Austin Hooper caught a 40-yard jump ball yesterday, and I was just like, sick. What is happening here?
Yeah.
I mean, the ball is on Drake Maye to make that throw.
No, I know. That's what I love. He's like, I don't care. Like, I was at UNC. I haven't had a single.
I was throwing to Bryson Nesbitt, dude. You can't scare me. You can't scare me, Austin Hooper.
De'Ami Brown is the best wide receiver to come out of our program in years. Like,
well, here's a good one. What is
Josh Downs was there? Josh Downs was there, right? UNC
sophomore year,
okay.
And Downs smashed, and Maye was better as a sophomore, probably because of the presence of Josh Downs. You would imagine.
Yeah.
So what about Hollywood Brown? I mean, Hollywood Brown would be a good fit, a great fit. Patriots.com. The thing is I feel like he is of all these guys, he's the most natural. Just re-sign with the team that he's with already.
Well, he would be, but what do you think? Like, Hopkins is probably trying to get the contract Brown was going to get.
I don't think Brett Veach is paying 33-year-old DeAndre Hopkins. I think they said, DeAndre, you know, we needed you. But that is like the opposite of what the Kansas City Chiefs have done. Like, Kansas City Chiefs have just unceremoniously dumped everybody. Like MVS, thanks for your service. Bye. Hardman, thanks for your service. Bye. We'll bring you back for a minimum salary. Sure. Like all these guys. Demarcus Robinson, thanks for your service. Bye. Like they just ship them out.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Hopkins is not, he's old is the problem. The problem is not that he's not a Hardman. He's not a DeMarcus. He's not an MVS.
No, he's 33.
He's 33. Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, it'd be kind of interesting to see if he turns into.
I think, and I don't always know this stuff, but I think if Brett Veach had his choice, he would rather, for the same money, he'd rather bring back Hollywood than Hopkins, I believe.
Hollywood is 27 and a half. So, I mean, at that point.
And a fresh 27 because he hasn't played.
That's true. Although he hasn't played due to injury, so maybe not.
Well, it'll be. I mean, you definitely could see if Hollywood comes back and plays well in the playoffs, or if Hollywood comes back and like, oh, we can't get you on the field in the playoffs. Like we're playing Noah Gray, DeAndre Hopkins, Juju Smith-Schuster, Justin Watson, and Travis Kelce. We don't actually need you. Then maybe not. Hollywood would be a good one with Daniels. I feel like he would be an awesome.
Hollywood and Daniels would be pretty fun.
Hollywood and Daniels would be great.
Because Daniels has such a good deep ball. He can get so much air under it that like you need separation downfield if you're, like with Hollywood, because he's so small. Like you can't just be like the jump ball stuff. I think Daniels would be a pretty good fit with him.
I mean, it's pretty unbelievable how good Daniels has been. Daniels is not just good for a rookie. Like a lot of the stuff with Maye is like, oh, he's good for a rookie. A lot of the stuff with Nix is, oh, he's good for a rookie. The 3 games that Caleb was good, it was like, oh, he's pretty good for a rookie. Jayden Daniels is second in the NFL in adjusted EPA per play, better than Joe Burrow, better than Purdy, better than Kyler, better than Mahomes, Hurts, Cousins. Whereas the rest of the guys, well, Caleb is better than Richardson still. Nix is worse than Daniel Jones and Dak Prescott, as is Drake Maye. My God, CJ Stroud.
You know what the other thing is?
22nd.
Ooh, sorry, who's 22nd? CJ Stroud.
CJ Stroud is below Joe Flacco.
The other thing, I like to look at EPA per game as well, or just total EPA, because just from writing this stuff up every week, you do notice that okay, how is it that Brock Purdy and Jimmy Garoppolo are always so good in EPA per play?
Because they never have bad games.
They never have bad games, but they don't I actually think Purdy's better than this. Purdy has continued to get better over his career, so this is more of a Garoppolo point. But it's you never put the offense on this dude's shoulders, never ever. It's always kind of this limited sample in any given game. And so if you just look at EPA per play, he looks sick. But then if you look at what's he actually adding to your team, because the problem is you can't just he's not Mahomes, he's not Allen. You can't just load him up with attempts and he'll be fine. You need to carefully manage, a dude like Garoppolo. So is that what we're seeing with Daniels? Nope. He's second in total EPA this year. The offense is now, they do run the ball. They're not just, he's a rookie. They're not passing all over the yard with him constantly, but he's not really being protected. It's just it's a well-run offense. It's an offense with some balance. They pick their spots, but I don't really see any reason to be skeptical. He has arrived. He looks awesome. I don't know. I don't know that there's anyone not on board at this point, but I'm certainly not going to be a skeptic on Jayden Daniels.
I think there is room to be a skeptic on Jayden Daniels. If he costs a 4th round pick in BBM. How about this? How much would it cost to acquire Jayden Daniels in Superflex Dynasty right now? And would you pay that price?
I think that I would not. it strikes me as a bad time. I think if you're trying to go get Jayden Daniels, you're probably paying the equivalent of the 101 in
Yeah,
terms of
and
what the
and like
person needs.
yeah, and I basically am not doing that. Like right now, if you made me send out an undetermined 2025 first for one of these guys, like one, you're just not getting. You're
What do you
definitely
mean?
not getting Daniels for a 2025 first. You're probably not getting Maye. You just like, let's say
You're
you're
not even
in.
getting. What are you talking about? They wouldn't even start the
No,
conversation
no.
with either guy.
I bet you could get Caleb for an undetermined 2025 first right now. I bet you
No,
could. No, I bet you could,
no.
man. Let's go over it. What do you keep trade cut? Is that a good way? Is that a good way to
Sure.
source this?
I mean, but you just okay. Factor in the sunk cost fallacy exists for a reason. People don't
Yeah.
like, like. First of all, I don't think you should do this. I don't think you should trade Caleb Williams for an undetermined 2025. For the quarterback class isn't good, right?
No, it's terrible.
So that's a bad idea. Then don't do that. But even if it was a good idea, I don't think people would be willing to do it.
So right now on KTC, it's very roughly equivalent. A 2025 early first for
But
Caleb Williams.
still, it doesn't get there. Yeah, undetermined. Put in undetermined.
Here, I'll do mid first. I'll do mid first and a second. Still, I mean they have the balancing stuff on, but you could also it's obviously all this stuff always depends on like the specifics of your league. Is this an FFPC league? Guess what? FFPC league, you can pull off some stuff you wouldn't believe.
Oh,
like
FFPC,
I've done.
This isn't disrespect. They're not dynasty leagues in the sense that like
they're keeper leagues more or
less.
They're
keeper leagues, yeah. They're keeper leagues. They're fun. But it's a
like,
different conversation.
What I'm saying overall. So let's put it in the context of these leagues that you and I play in. These 30-man best ball, huge rosters, huge starting lineups. You never get a chance to get a quarterback. Would you trade 2 firsts for Caleb Williams right now? Two undetermined. So
yeah,
your 2025, your 2026, undetermined.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so too. And I would bet that is not the prevailing opinion. I would bet that is not the overall opinion of, like, for example, I was lower when we did the Dynasty exercise with Anthony Richardson. We did those off-season podcasts with Jacob when we did our mid-season update. Like, I moved Anthony Richardson down into the 70s. Like, I probably am too reactive the other way. I bail on guys.
Well, you were right there. I mean,
quickly.
he got benched for Joe Flacco.
Right, but I was like really low on Jordan Love and things like that. Like it goes both ways, and then really high on Jordan Love again, and that also looks directionally wrong.
I guess the thing, I brought this up on our Dynasty pod with Jacob. The thing that I'm feeling like I probably need to like adjust my like mental framework on this is outdated. Is the way these franchises are playing the quarterback position, right? Like it used to be that a guy could kind of fail and fail and fail again if there was enough draft capital and kind of like organizational, reputational, commitment to this guy, right? So with a guy like Caleb Williams is the number 1 overall pick, and they get rid of Justin Fields, who was very popular among the fans and in the locker room, which I was fully on board with, but like they committed to this guy in a way that like some other fans actually didn't want them to, right? So you need him to work out. In the past, I'd be like, 3 coaching, like it'll take a third coaching staff before they're able to bench this guy. Coaches and GMs will lose their jobs before Caleb Williams. Like that's like my 2018 take.
Yeah, that is not true now.
It's not really true now. Yeah, like seeing Richardson get benched. I mean,
Richardson was the 4th overall pick less than 18 months ago. Like 16 months ago.
And Ballard sunk it. I mean, I think Ballard almost like got himself fired with this move. It's strange. Like, how does he survive this? And then Steichen was brought in specifically in my mind because he was a good fit for a guy like Richardson.
He wanted Richardson. He was like, oh, I developed the offense that made Jalen Hurts a competent NFL passer.
Yeah.
Now this, there's been murmurings of this. There's been enough out there, both people on the record and just saying like what they've heard. AR, quote unquote, AR screams off-field prep issue or something.
That's a good take. I agree.
Might be true because
Yeah.
there's been a couple moments of them showing. I think I said this on ADP Chasing last week. There was a moment they showed Flacco and Ellinger like looking at the tablet on the sideline, and Richardson's just like twiddling his thumbs, just being like, which, like, to be fair, can you imagine how pissed off you'd be if you were Anthony Richardson? Like, bro, it's my 11th NFL game. I'm playing with a hip pointer. I got broken last year, and you bench me for this schlub, you know?
Yeah. But that's what a previous regime would not have been able to like pull that off. Like the outcry from fans, the owner, like, I don't know. I think maybe some of the like maybe Zach Wilson busting as hard as he did kind of changed things where like people are just, they're more willing to just be like,
Bro,
yeah, it didn't work out.
Bo Nix is not even on the first page. Bo Nix is not even on the first page of Keep Trade Cut.
Where's Daniels and Maye?
I mean, they're definitely on the first page. Daniels and Maye. Maye right now, probably
Daniels
not
is number 3.
enough. Maye is 33 overall, so that's a few spots ahead of a 2026 early first, but behind a 2025 early first. And I gotta say, I'll probably redo my rankings. Maybe I'll do it. Maybe I'll do it this week. I would have Daniels lower than this. I would have Daniels closer to 9 or 10, I think.
Yeah, that feels fine. But I mean, Maye in the 30s makes no sense.
Yeah, Maye behind Kyren Williams. There's not a fantasy football league that exists where if you send Kyren Williams
in that trade today, send Kyren Williams for Drake Maye and see kind of what responses you get.
Everyone is taking Maye there.
So Caleb, so would you take Caleb or Maye at this point?
No one wants to hear this, but I would still take Caleb.
Yeah, no one's surprised to hear this, but I would take Maye. I think it's time to flip them. And Jacob Sanderson had a good point. I saw fantasy points
on Dynasty points. He made some very good points.
Yeah, because it's like pick what is it? What's happening with Caleb? Was the situation not as good as we thought, or is he not as good as we thought? Because it kind of has to be one of them. And if the situation's not as good as we thought, then what's the difference between him and Maye? The
situation is not as good as we thought for like multiple reasons, like reasons on top of reasons on top of reasons. And it's like people do joke about things like this, including me. I'm like, oh, I'm a vibes-based drafter. To me, in my opinion, I think the vibes being terrible from the time you get into the facility on Tuesday to the time the game ends on Sunday, just like, you hate your coach, you hate your coordinator, your wide receivers are like injured, and that like DJ Moore is walking off the field in the middle of plays. Keenan Allen is out of shape. Like, it seems like maybe the only people in the whole building who are doing their jobs are DeAndre Swift, Rome Odunze, and the defensive players. Like, and whereas the Patriots vibes, it's like, nope, we have no expectations. No one cares.
Yeah.
We win that game against the Jets, and it's basically our Super Bowl. No one cares that we're bad. Everyone expected us to be bad this year. Winning anything is great. It's why teams always win when they fire their coach. It's like completely undefeated. It's because of the vibes reset and vibes.
It's the expectations. It really is the expectations. Because I mean, think about how much better the Patriots vibes would be if all of a sudden they had Rome Odunze. All of a sudden they had DJ Moore. Like, give them one of the guys that Caleb has, and the vibes in New England would like go through the roof, right? But give them, I don't know, pick the third best offensive lineman on the Bears, send him over to Patriots. Like, you're just like anybody, any upgrade, right? But you had one team that we thought was going to hit the ground running and be awesome. And frankly, like the defense has shown up. It's like one of the best defenses in the league, and they still can't beat the Patriots. Like, so relative to that, it's just the expectations that we had
The Patriots
and that they have
passed
for
on
themselves.
McConkey. Do you think they only passed on McConkey because they didn't want the ghost of Bill Belichick to haunt the institution? Like the only reason they didn't just the New England Patriots with pick 37 select Lad McConkey, University of Georgia. It was just because they didn't want people to tweet jokes about them taking the scrappy white guy. That was it. That was the only reason. Had to have been.
Or that this organization hasn't been able to draft a receiver in like its entire history.
Do you know the good trivia?
What?
It's one of the greatest tweets that I've ever had of all time. Belichick has drafted more future NFL head coaches than 1,000-yard wide receivers. The last 1,000-yard wide receiver he drafted as a quarterback, Julian Edelman.
Julian Edelman. Wow.
Now, to be fair, that is kind of a selective lens because of Aaron Hernandez and Rob Gronkowski, but you know those guys did generate a lot of. Although Hernandez probably never had 1,000 yards in a season.
He might have been that one in that 2011 season. He might have. That season was nuts.
Here's the thing: I'm not giving Caleb the O-line excuse because I watched Mahomes yesterday against the Broncos. His left tackle gets injured in the first quarter, and he's just like getting killed. Like every play, he's ending up on the ground, and he got sacked 3 times, I think. Like there are the quarterbacks own. You know what? I will just show you guys what I mean by this. No one ever. People always think of sack rate as being reliant on offensive line play. The sack rate, it's all terrible quarterbacks. Look at this. It's all guys you think are bad. Deshaun Watson, Will Levis, Caleb Williams, Jacoby Brissett. Now, Jalen Hurts, to be fair, Gardner Minshew, CJ Stroud. I'm not saying, but I am saying Justin Fields, Sam Darnold, Drake Maye. Then it levels out. I mean, 8% is very close to league average. It goes either way. But the very worst sack rates tend to be owned by bad quarterbacks. They of course offensive line play has.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not saying it's 0% on the offensive line, but a 13% sack rate, I'm not giving him a pass.
No, I don't think we should. And the sack taking was a red flag for Caleb Williams coming out. It was a red flag for Maye. It was a red flag for Daniel. It was most significantly a red flag for Daniels, but I would say it was a minor red flag for both Maye and Caleb Williams. And I mean, quarterbacks can influence this in a couple of ways. One is what happens when you get pressure on you. You know, are you getting the ball out quickly? Do you know where to go with the ball when there's pressure? Are you willing to throw the ball away? Are you willing to scramble, make a quick decision? All that stuff. And then the other thing is how long are you holding the ball in the first place? And that's probably where Caleb Williams needs to work on his game the most. I think his time to throw, time to throw this season. You know what? It's not as long as I thought it would be. He's quarterback 11 in time to throw. It's actually behind Drake Maye at 2.93. Hurts has the longest time to throw, then Lamar, then Darnold, then Purdy, then Fields. Then Nix, actually. Nix has been holding on to it really long this year.
Nix was so good at this in college, though. In all of college football, like the entirety of the FBS, he was 8th in pressure to sack ratio. Bo Nix got sacked 6 fucking times his final season at Oregon.
I think this is why we're enjoying
times, bro.
We're enjoying him more than we thought as a fantasy player, because what I didn't realize about Nix, so his pressure to sack ratio was like crazy low, and jumped out. I don't really like in my stuff. I'm not like really rewarding guys for that, because it's like I don't care if you like never get sacked. I just don't want it to like ruin drives constantly.
Ruin drive. That's the dude. This is such a good point. A sack is basically a turnover. Like a sack is like 0.7 of a turnover.
Yeah, it's like 0.7 turnover. Yeah.
This happened a couple times yesterday. I was sweating it very hard because I had Barkley on a bunch of DFS teams. Jalen Hurts got sacked for like -11 yards twice. And I was just, all right, well, that drive's over. And guess what? It was, because it's very hard to convert 3rd and 21 or whatever.
Yep. Yeah, let me see. So I'll pull up pressure to sack rate for the rookies.
Bo Nix has been sacked 4.9% of the time. That is, I mean, Mahomes is the gold standard of this. Like, he is like the literal GOAT of it.
I compared Nix to Mahomes in my write-up as a prospect from an avoiding mistake, because that's the thing with Mahomes. Everyone always talks about Mahomes from the high end stuff, which obviously there's a reason for that.
He's his superpower is not being shitty.
Exactly.
Like, that's kind of what his thing is.
And at one point, maybe not, maybe in the past, I don't know why, but in the past, it used to be combining not being shitty ever with often being awesome. But that was why Mahomes is, the best. So Nix has the not being shitty part. He's never, he doesn't have the highs, but the avoiding the lows is still huge.
And the highs will never come there for Nix. I think like that is what I feel comfortable saying. Like, Nix can max out at being like the year the Giants made the playoffs with Daniel Jones. He just doesn't. He just doesn't quite. I don't know what it is. If he's like not a second. He's like a 3 milliseconds late processing a lot of the passing stuff. You do gotta hand it to Sean Payton though. Like, you don't want it to. It's the meme, the heartbreaking, the worst person made a good point. But like, given the context of that organization, it was probably the right thing to do to take Bo Nix.
Oh, I thought it was a smart move at the time. You kind of have to sell something. You're in the business of like selling hope as an NFL franchise.
Right.
Or an NFL coach, someone who would like to stay employed by an NFL franchise. There needs to be a plan that you're like building towards. And I mean, Peyton, this has been, he got like 3 more years from, not that he was necessarily like on the hot seat, but this is awesome for Peyton. Like a rookie quarterback who's executing his offense pretty well and looks good enough, but like not so good that you're like, anyone could coach this team and they'd be awesome. You're like, no, we need Sean Payton. We need his system, but it's a nice fit. This is like ideal for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
By the way, I was wrong on what Caleb Williams needs to work on. His time to throw's not quick, but not that long. His pressure to sack rate is 29%. Only Jameis, Spencer Rattler, and Will Levis have been worse than that. Yeah.
Seems bad.
It does seem bad.
I'm also very curious about McCarthy and Penix, especially watching Darnold against the Jaguars yesterday. I'm like, so he really was never good. Like basically, like, it was all smoke and mirrors. We could have had, I mean, especially like basically with how Nix has played, where I'm like, coaching is so much a part of this. Because if you don't watch college football, you would think like, oh, Bo Nix, he's 24. Like, Bo Nix at Auburn, like, really one of the worst quarterbacks I've ever seen. Like, so bad. Like, this guy's not even going in the 7th round in the NFL draft. Like, just one of these guys who doesn't, he might as well be Ball State's quarterback, like preparing to sell car insurance or whatever. But I mean, and McCarthy, like, there were some people who had him as his number 1 quarterback in the class. So like, I don't know, what do you kind of think the range of outcomes is for McCarthy next season, just sort of based on how this quarterback class has performed?
I wasn't that into McCarthy because he kind of is the opposite of like what I tend to want. Like, I like the Maye profile. Daniel scared me more than he scared me more than he should have, but he still like did quite well in, my value. Like, if I was my sober evaluation, my truth serum take for Pete's video was that like I was too low on Daniels and needed to basically man up. Because of the sober evaluation, you're like, yeah, this dude does what we want. McCarthy really, really low volume offense. Like hard to overstate just how low volume it was.
He had fewer pass attempts than Caleb Williams had completions.
Yeah, like is that true? That's insane.
That is true. I did not make that up. That is true.
So that we need attempts. We don't want a Jimmy Garoppolo. Like an offense in the NFL might like that because a Jimmy Garoppolo on a rookie contract can be pretty good. And then maybe you luck into he's actually Brock Purdy, but like it's just not great for fantasy points. But in my write up of him, I was like, if he lands with Kevin McCarthy, he could be pretty good. Like I specifically pointed out, the Vikings is like a sweet landing spot for him because he throws to the middle of the field well. He's pretty accurate. You kind of like you're hoping he becomes like a Kirk Cousins, a Brock Purdy, just someone who's like executing the offense, but doing so efficiently enough that where there's actually like a little more volume. He is decently mobile, kind of in a Purdy way. Not like gonna add a ton with his legs, but he can move around. He's not a statue. So I think Darnold playing as well as he has makes me more confident in McCarthy because it makes me more confident in the system. O'Connell's a really, really good coach, I think. And I mean, he's got great weapons.
he's my opinion of him is so high.
Yeah.
Like man, I was really enjoying the Sam Darnold experience. Like it was pretty fun. Obviously, he was bringing my Justin Jefferson bags along. Although I need to extend something to Sam Darnold. He really, really tried to get Justin Jefferson the ball yesterday. Yeah. All of his interceptions were targeting Jefferson. Where are we getting the idea that he's a Jimmy G prospect? Buddy, he didn't do nothing. Look at this. I was literally not lying. The stat sounds like a lie, not a lie. 735 completions in 3 seasons for Caleb Williams, 713 total attempts.
Also,
what can you even learn from 700?
My point is that not that he was the same level of prospect as Jimmy G. My point is that, like, frankly, any quarterback would be lucky to be as efficient as Jimmy G was with Shanahan. I'm sort of comparing the archetype.
Where did Jimmy G go to college? He doesn't even have a college football reference page.
He must. No?
I just typed the name in.
Is
he James Garoppolo?
James? Yeah, maybe he's James.
I got nothing.
Eastern Illinois, MacNova says.
I was going to say he went to the same.
It's one R. It's one R with Garoppolo.
Okay, this is gonna piss me off. Now I got to find his college stats. He went to the same directional Illinois school as Tony Romo, I believe.
Tim says you gotta search Jimothy.
There we go. There we go. That's what I thought.
Yeah. But anyway, my point is not like that he was a similar prospect to Jimmy G. It's that he would be fulfilling a similar role in the NFL as Jimmy G, which is great for the Shanahan system, but not great for us. But ultimately, I'm like I said, I'm more.
If absence didn't make the heart grow fonder, I would buy on McCarthy right now. In fact, I did try and buy on McCarthy in a league. Actually, you aren't in this league, but a similar type league to the ones that we were in together. I tried to do some McCarthy buying when our trade deadline opened because I think the idea that Sam Darnold was going to play his way into the Daniel 4 years, $160 million. I think we're looking at a 1 year, $25 million with a team option for $25 million again. For the second, I knew I was right. Same directional Illinois school as Tony Romo.
Nice. Now, God, the big one. Who would have thought that Purdy would be better than Caleb?
Dude, this has like been one of my biggest. I don't really like to be Bayesian with my NFL quarterback opinions. I kind of like to lock in who they are and just stay there forever. Purdy has been unreal. Purdy has been awesome. Man.
He's really good.
He is cooking everybody. He's scrambling. It's like all of it. He's been unbelievable. So we need to remove Purdy from the Nick Mullins, Jimmy G,
Yeah.
CJ Beathard. Like he is not that guy. Yeah, losing teams. If you have a team right now that is in 11th place, you gotta ship out picks for these guys.
Yeah. Susted was pushing back on the low volume. It's not, none of this is an indictment. We're just trying to like dial in the range of outcomes, and it makes you more nervous.
It's harder to make decisions on these guys when you have so little volume.
Right. It also points to something, right? Like yes,
that's
you could
the other
say,
thing.
look,
the coaches are making the decisions.
It doesn't mean he's bad, because look how good the team was, and like they only needed him to do this part, to do his part, and then they would be really good. And like, sure. But I need this guy to be really good. I don't need him to just not be bad. I need him to be really good. Is he that? What evidence do I have that he's really good? It makes that part of it thinner. So I think McCarthy still remains boom bust, but yeah, the system is so good. I mean, I think Darnold is helping prove that.
You know what the crazy thing would be, though, is like they win 11 games with Darnold, and Darnold just like, he's like, Josh McCown was my high school coach. He's my like best friend. He's the quarterback coach here. I loved playing under Kevin O'Connell. I will give you guys a huge discount. I just want to play here. I'll play here. You can give me 1 year, $50 million with a team option for the second year, instead of trying to go get paid by someone else.
Who?
Darnold. Yeah. He just says, we just won 11 games. We hosted a playoff game. Oh, let's run it back.
Dude, that is actually what he should do, because his path is to be the Flacco, right? Have someone.
Dude, but he's 26. Isn't that crazy?
I know, but I mean, like, no team is going to commit to him, right? Who's building around Sam Darnold?
I needed to fact check that I was lying. He's 27. I needed to fact check that.
That did seem a little young, but it was
27,
in the ballpark enough that they didn't put
20. He's like the same age as Joe Burrow, like literally.
That's crazy.
What team would build around him? I could see the Titans giving him the bag.
Sus says the Giants.
The Giants are not. The Giants are not going to do it. It's too much. It's too much of a bet. This is the team. That is the team. The Raiders. The Raiders say.
I don't know, man. So the problem with that is that like they just did that and it sucked, and they want out. They want out of that experience. They want to go into the rookie market. I think they're ready. They're ready for a rookie.
This is such a bad. I would not be surprised if there's only one quarterback who goes in the first round.
Now, if the Raiders are going to take Quinn Ewers.
Dude, Quinn Ewers not even the best quarterback on his college team, which is crazy.
He's still going 9th to the Raiders. Wherever they pick.
Why didn't they just take Penix, man? Why didn't they just take Penix? It could have saved us all.
He was gone.
That's right. Oh my God.
That was their plan.
I had memory wiped that.
Yeah.
Michael Penix is on the Falcons. What happens to Michael Penix? Kirk Cousins is fine. What's going to happen to Michael Penix? Literally. What is going to happen to Michael Penix?
Well, I mean, I think what always was going to happen, right? He's going to sit behind Cousins. The thing with the 25-year-old quarterback is that you want to sit him for 2 years. That's always a good way to go. How old is Penix? Isn't he like 24? Not 25.
I believe he is already 25.
God. That's crazy.
Penix he will be 25 before he ever starts a game. He's 24. He's 24 right now. But what if we have to recontextualize the entire Michael Penix experience, because Rome, McMillan, and Polk are brutal NFL players. Like, they've all been bad.
Right. Well, so what could the Falcons? No teams do this. I wish we're in a league that we would see this type of thing. But like, could you trade Michael Penix for the number 1 pick next year or something like that? That would be so fun.
It's like, obviously this would never happen, but Cam Ward, who's probably going to win the Heisman and is probably going to be the number 1 overall pick, is going to be 23. before he ever starts a game. He spent 2 years at an FCS school, then went to Washington State, and is now the University of Miami's quarterback. He's been in college forever. I disagree. Someone in the chat.
22.
He just turned 22, but so he'll be 25 or he'll be 23 before the beginning of. Well, I guess he's 2 years younger than Penix. My God, Penix is so old.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. Look, I'm rooting for Ashton Jeanty to win the Heisman Trophy. He's not going to. He should, but he is not. He's not going to. Cam Ward is going to win, I think, and he shouldn't. He should be at best third. But the thing with that would be sick, Pat. That because some teams should do it. Some teams should say, you know what? We don't want Cam Ward. We want Michael Penix Jr. Trade us the pick.
But the Falcons wouldn't. It's one of those weird things where I think the Falcons would say no.
Yeah.
And the team doing it would say no. It's like it just doesn't. The NFL is just like not a liquid trade market that way.
No, it really should be. It really especially because contracts are not guaranteed. Like the reason, it's actually crazy. The NBA is such a liquid trade market because the contracts are guaranteed. You can't just get a guy and cut him and then say, oh well, it's kind of funny.
Do you think that makes it more liquid because you have to because in the NFL you can kind of just find dudes there's more. I don't know. It should make it way more liquid. That basically you can acquire a guy in a trade for a draft pick or whatever, and then half his salary immediately doesn't count, just evaporates because that's the way it works. There's very low risk, the risk that you lose twice by giving away the picks and have to pay a guy fully guaranteed money. I mean, literally, this has only ever happened to the Browns. The Browns are the only team in NFL history that's had to do this.
Yeah. Here's the thing: who would trade for Cousins? No one. There's the Raiders.
The Falcons are the only team.
The Raiders would be the only team that would do it. It's so funny how when you start doing these conversations of who should do what, it's always the Raiders. The Raiders are the only team that would ever do any. It's someone should trade for Zeke. Oh, the Raiders, they might give they're not. It's you could just say anything, and you're well, the Raiders might, and the answer is generally yes. Yeah, this is why it happens. You get a big cap hit. I don't know why it works this way, but the team receiving the guy always kind of does it. The Panthers are a team that could do Penix, not Cousins, but Penix. What are the Panthers going to do at quarterback? The Panthers are so dusted at quarterback.
That might be a Darnold. Situation.
Oh, well, they had him. They can't. They literally had him.
That's true. They can't do Darnold again.
He was literally a Panther.
Yeah. God, he would be perfect if he hadn't already done the.
If he hadn't, he would be. He'd be a really good Jet too, because Rodgers is going to retire. He'd be an awful good Jet.
You think Rodgers retires?
Does he really want to do this again?
I think he does one more year.
Well, it's just dude, they have 3 wins. Or do they have 4 wins? Yeah. They have 3 wins. They're 3-7. They have the same record as the Patriots.
That is so funny. And they lost directly to the Patriots. That's one of the reasons they have that record.
Yeah. Rodgers, he doesn't want to do this, man. He doesn't. Do you think this is fun for him? And he's one of those guys who clearly has interest outside of football. He doesn't want to do this anymore.
Could you imagine if Drake Maye had Garrett Wilson? There's so many good situations that are just.
Can you imagine if Drake Maye had Mike Williams, in 31-year-old torn ACL Mike Williams? Oh my God,
Mike Williams. He would love Mike Williams. He loves to throw the back shoulder stuff. He loves. Drake Maye loves when his receivers completely bodied up with the defender.
Please stop. This can't be true.
All right. I'm going to hang on. I got to delete some offers for Caleb. Remember when we were going to send 2 first for Caleb? I think we're unsending those offers. Dude, what is the NFL seems to be learning.
Josh, where is
horrible lessons about quarterbacks. Give these guys time. Give these dudes time to develop.
I'm just Twitter searching Tyson Bagent. Here you go. Clay Harbor. This is Clay Harbor's Twitter from the McAfee Show. Adam Schefter says he expects a change in play caller or a change in quarterback today. Says Tyson Bagent could be a possibility. That is, in fact, unless it's very good deep fake, that is Schefter.
Are you able to hear? Because so far it's just been McAfee talking.
I'm not gonna share the audio stream of that. I am gonna find Tyson Bagent's 2023 PFF stats and show you how. See, this is why you don't buy too early, because you could, you want to talk about a good time to buy Caleb Williams. Would have been an awful good time to buy Caleb Williams right now. Send your offer out right now.
This is a good time to buy. Yeah, maybe send that first. Maybe the Williams guy's starting to panic.
I mean, is this already the Schefter, or is this already the Richardson moment? Like, not that they're benching him, but just that, like, is it actually crazy bearish, not because Caleb sucks, but just because the organization is so incompetent if this happens?
I think if Caleb misses a snap for Tyson Bagent, it's one of the most bearish things that's ever happened. And by that, I mean, like the Bears.
My God. Would the Bears really bench Caleb Williams for Tyson Bagent? That was about as good of a pun as it's going to get from you.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever top that.
I don't think you'll ever top that.
It's extremely bearish.
I mean, Tyson Bagent played 167 passing snaps last year, generated a 50.8 passing grade, did get a good PFF rushing grade.
What about this? Because I think it's fair to say, right, that like it's too early to give up on Caleb Williams, but he needs a change of scenery. I think that's fair, you know. So why not trade him straight up for Justin Fields? Who says no?
Fields is looking for a way out.
Fields needs a new home. Caleb Williams could use a change of scenery. Better coaching. He gets better coaching. Arthur Smith. Definitely better coach than Shane Waldron.
Oh, Arthur Smith, way better coach than Shane Waldron. Yeah. Maybe football is just too hard, Pat. Maybe I guess that just is what it is. Football's too hard. It's too unpredictable. I can't believe that.
I think it's
Fields is a free agent if the Steelers choose to let him be a free agent. It's up to them.
Right. Yeah, I think there's like kind of fundamentals to like running an organization that, like, actually, frankly, I would say that none of the top three teams drafting quarterbacks followed the correct fundamentals of what to do here. I'd say only the Vikings really followed this logic, which is correct. That you need, right? Like the best thing to do. Now, ideally, you have weapons around a guy, but I think more importantly, you have the coach in place that's going to be an offensive head coach. That's like you have a GM, a coach, and a quarterback kind of all tied together, and you're going to be they're all moving in the same direction, and you're not having to worry about a quarterback where you're going to have like an offense coordinator and then he gets fired and then a new offensive coordinator and a new offensive coordinator. That's the quickest way to ruin one of these quarterbacks.
Sam Bradford had a different offensive coordinator. And I think he was always good, basically. And he just never had a chance.
Yeah.
You can find other opinions out there about Sam Bradford, but
get your organization, and like this was doable. I mean, the Bears they'd seen enough. I mean, they could have They probably didn't want to get rid of Poles because they got the Young trade, and that's how they ended up with Williams. So they're probably liking what they had from Poles. And then Poles maybe didn't want to get rid of Eberflus, and Eberflus is a good coach, like as far as defensive stuff goes, you know. So I get it, but like you just can't, like you gotta.
No, like basically keeping Eberflus was the worst decision you could possibly make. What you got to do when you are given a chance to restart your organization like that, you have got to ship out the defensive-minded head coach. You have to give Ben Johnson, Liam Cohen, even Liam Cohen, who had, I believe only ever been an offensive coordinator for 2 seasons. Even he would have been a better head coach. You know?
Yeah, I mean it's a risk to. I think Johnson was kind of the obvious choice, but you got it. Because look, I mean, here's the thing: the Commanders, everyone's feeling good. Kingsbury has had a really nice resurgence here. He's probably another year away from leaving for a head coaching job because the stink was so bad on him from the first head coaching gig. But he's going to get another shot if they keep playing well. You're going to lose Kingsbury. You're going to end up with Dan Quinn and whoever's willing to, go be Dan Quinn's OC. You might get a college guy, you might get like a cast off Kellen Moore type.
Best case scenario, you get Liam Cohen effectively. You get another guy who's going to be gone in a year. Best case. Best case scenario, how it's going to work. Well, honestly,
or you get a Monken. I think best case you get like a Todd Monken.
You get a guy who's done the whole round trip, who's already basically realized he's found his level and can't be a head coach.
Yeah,
and just likes to be a coordinator. Steve Spagnuolo. Spagnuolo he's on the defensive side of the ball for Kansas City, but like, it'd be a nightmare if he left the Chiefs. Like they would be scrambling, but he knows he's not a head coach. Like he just basically he just realizes I'm not a head coach.
Can we pull up James Young's comment, because this is just a tribute to the ecosystem that is the NFL fan base. No OC can fix a guy like Caleb. He went from the best quarterback prospect in the history of the game.
He did win. He did win a Heisman Trophy. He did beat the University of Texas Austin as an 18-year-old in his very first ever game, where he came on at halftime for Spencer Rattler.
We're not done with Week 10.
I gotta admit, I personally, I'll put my hand up. I still think Caleb Williams is good.
No, I think he's probably good. With all of these guys, you're hoping for that they're going to hit the ground running and show us that they're special. And the Caleb Williams' special case has taken a huge, huge hit. So maybe from that perspective, I would agree with James' comment of like, I don't think the OC is like the reason he's not a superstar.
No, great point.
Yeah, but an OC can help in a lot of ways, and we had a lot of questions about Waldron before the season. It's not like we turned on Waldron. No one liked Waldron.
Everyone thought this was a brutal hire to begin with. Now, I would like to peel back the curtain a little bit on myself and say I should not have been so bullish on the Bears for fantasy in 2024 after having seen what Waldron just did, right?
I agree. No, that's a huge, huge error on my part too. Yeah.
Shane Waldron,
they're not benching Caleb, so that's good.
I think
so. The one caveat to this is if you're going to hire the kind of the organizational structural guy, the CEO, he has to be like such an organization builder that when you get a guy like Ben Johnson on the team, he just refuses to leave year after year. You need Dan Campbell. You need someone who's that inspirational of a leader. But I don't think that's Dan Quinn.
This has got to be it for Ben Johnson. There's too many bad coaches out there. Ben Johnson is gone, man. Someone's going to give him crazy money.
Well, you know what we need? We need the Lions to win the Super Bowl. If he wins the Super Bowl, Ben Johnson's gone.
I'm trying to think through that. Yeah, I mean, I don't want the Lions to win the Super Bowl. I'd like the Chiefs to win for the
I know you do,
third
but
time
for
in a
the
row.
sake of the game, we need Ben Johnson.
Well, actually, do you think
finish
that
this journey?
Do you think losing? I think I was saying this to Liam last week, but if the Chiefs lose like a super embarrassing home playoff game to the Bengals, could that get them to be serious? Could we then revert to them caring about the regular season again?
I don't know that they'll ever care about the regular season.
Like they lose like 37-10 at home to Joe Burrow and the Bengals. Like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are like doing TikTok dances in the end zone. Could then we get the Chiefs being like, you know what, maybe let's score more than 14 points a game at home?
I wish, but I don't know.
I think it's probably over. I think they've now just, it's full. There's one game a season that matters to them, and it's played in Arizona or Jacksonville,
right.
And that's it.
And hopefully that season ends with them losing to the Lions so that we can get Ben Johnson freed to go be a head coach somewhere. You know, if they win the Super Bowl, Dan's going to be like, Dan Campbell's going to, in interviews, he's going to be like, he's going to, be like his hype man before these interviews. He's this whole Commanders thing is not gonna hurt Ben Johnson at all. We just need
someone just said it. I think this is like almost the most likely thing now for Caleb, where he becomes like a Trevor Lawrence style guy, where he is sort of like below average for multiple years, but there's enough flashes where you're like, holy shit, maybe he is good.
Baker.
I mean, the thing about Baker that Caleb does not have is Baker is a dog. Baker has never quit. Baker will never quit. Baker is man, he's unbelievable. Sir, I'm sorry. When you get to this, you're saying you're on. When you get to this, I'm sorry. This is wrong. This is not.
Look, I mean, the handle tells you, long-suffering 49ers fan. He wants like a better quarterback beyond Purdy, because Purdy, there are better quarterbacks than Purdy, but like,
of course, sure.
You're lucky.
How many though? How many? Less. I'll tell you this. Not as many as you'd think. There are not as many quarterbacks who are better than Purdy.
There really are.
It would be really nice to have Mahomes or Lamar or whatever for everyone, but not everyone can. All right. Let's do this. For every quarterback, let's predict where they go in Best Ball Mania next year and what we would give up for them in a dynasty trade. So let's do, I will pull up keep trade cut. I'll pull up the trade calculator. So let's just start here. Officially, where do you think Drake Maye goes in Best Ball Mania 5 next year?
I think Drake Maye goes in the 9th round.
Okay. So that's like quarterback 10, 11-ish. Are we thinking they do get T. Higgins or they trade for a high-tier wide receiver?
Yeah, they bring in like one piece that's like, okay, this dude can be our number one. I think they still have another year. Yeah, they still have another year at DeMario, or 2 years, actually, I think. They might lose Henry, but hopefully not. But yeah, it's like we feel like generally a little bit better about the situation, but not like, oh my God, they figured it out. The offensive line looks probably still kind of bad, but not horrific. And he has like one weapon that we think we can draft, in the top like 4 or 5 rounds of Best Ball Mania.
We'll take Hunter Henry as the tight end 15 again. Right now, Drake Maye is averaging 9.3 yards per rushing attempt, 38.8 rushing yards per game. He only has 1 rushing touchdown. You extrapolate that out for 16 games, you've got him close to like 700 yards rushing and 4 or 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, it might be more like it
might be higher.
Round. Yeah,
because I agree.
I'm trying to, you know how it's tough. I don't want to be like 6th round,
Well, I do think a big lesson, quote unquote lesson, I'll say a takeaway that a lot of people will have from the results this year is your Burrows, your Strouds, your Mahomeses, your Goffs, your Daks, just any quarterback who generates their points via passing the ball, big discount. They're gonna go.
Well, Burrow just put up a huge. How many points did he put up? I was gonna say 50, but that was Chase.
He only does that against the Ravens, and I guess we'll see if they play the Ravens in Week 17 next
but I
year.
think the Burrow Dak
brother, it's May. It's not close. It's not close.
Yeah, I think Maye goes ahead of Mahomes unless they add like a.
What's gonna be sick is Mahomes is still gonna end up being like a 7th round pick because they're gonna win the Super Bowl again, which is just it's so annoying. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he'll go similar to Burrow, Maye. Probably just behind.
I think that's right. Right now, I don't believe I'm in very many leagues where I'm not with you that I don't have Drake Maye in, but I would give up a 2025 first. Someone made this point earlier, which is great, which is that it's a bad class to have a ton of picks if you're a really bad team, because there's going to be like Ashton Jeanty is going to be a 1st round pick. The Ohio State guys are going to be 2nd round picks. There might be 10 running backs who are gone by pick 100 in the NFL draft.
Yeah, I would. If someone offered me an early first for Maye, I would. I mean, frankly, I'm busy and I would probably just ignore it. but I wouldn't accept it.
Yeah. I would give up a first and a second and a first and a second and a Gus Edwards.
I would need 2 early firsts. That's you would have to be a bad team that I know I'm getting I'm getting a running back and I'm probably getting a quarterback out of it the following year. Like that's when I would start to think about it. Before there's 2 early firsts on the table, I'd just be like, no, this dude's really good. He's really good and he's good for fantasy. Like the Patriots don't have a single, even a little drop of buyer's remorse on Drake Maye.
None.
In a league where we're talking about like organizations getting skittish about their quarterbacks much more quickly, there's not even a whiff of that around Drake Maye right now. You know, you have the organizational buy-in that in Dynasty in particular is massive.
Spoiler alert. The answer is yes. Yeah, I will be finding a way to tuck myself back in.
Yeah.
Okay. I agree on that. What about where does Bo Nix go as a rushing quarterback in Best Ball Mania 6?
That's a good question. You mean Best Ball Mania 5, right?
No, this is Best Ball Mania 5.
Oh shit. Okay, so you said Best Ball Mania 5 before, and okay.
Yeah, Best Ball Mania 6.
Damn. We're getting old, man.
We are getting old. I think he ends up going startlingly high, assuming they acquire a pass catcher. It doesn't have to be T. Higgins. It doesn't even have to be DeAndre Hopkins, although DeAndre Hopkins does kind of fit their meta, but they can't be running out Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin, Lil Jordan Humphrey, Devon Vele.
I think he goes like
Adam Troutman.
I think it was 12th round, because it can be much harder to talk yourself into him taking like a huge leap, just given his age. Yeah, so you kind of like you get what you're getting a little bit more, or that that's going to be the idea. And there's going to be guys where like Purdy's going to go in that range, maybe a little higher, but like not too much higher. You're going to have some of like the really solid stackable guys in that range. So I don't know. I don't know if you're going to see him all that much higher. Maybe 11th, but I think that kind of 11th, 12th range.
I probably will have like literally zero of him at that price. It's like buying the top on Daniel Jones. Like Nix, I think, is like my 3rd or 4th most drafted quarterback this year. But can you imagine paying like a semi-premium price for that guy who could just like, I don't know, man. The passing production has not been good. I would, however, so it's so funny. Dynasty is a different game. I feel like people would trade Nix away to you thinking they were going to get one over on you. Like, oh, dude, I just turned a profit on Bo Nix. Like, and then Bo Nix is still starting for the Denver Broncos in 2030.
I would happily add Bo Nix in a dynasty league. Bo Nix is
Super
another guy.
happily.
Like Bo Nix is going to be their starter for a while. I think. I guess it's so harder to say stuff like that, but we are.
Daniel
not seeing
Jones
any
just
signs of
started
him.
his 70th career game, and you're telling me Bo Nix is going to get benched? I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. I just don't think that's the way it works.
Yeah. He's pretty safe. Like it's all working the way they're kind of hoping it would. He's heading into next year. They're feeling good. By the way, in best ball, like this whole like dudes getting benched. I mean, frankly, Will Levis has been kind of soft bench. They're like, you still don't seem healthy enough to us, dude.
Right.
There's, Bryce Young. I mean, the Bryce Young one was crazy. Like he was so bad, but like the idea that you're just going to be like, nope, a year in, we're moving to Andy Dalton. Like for what? What's the
For
goal?
what?
Yeah. So, Young, Richardson, like these, we need to, for best ball, as much as dynasty, we need to kind of rethink what job security looks like. These young quarterbacks like don't have job security the way they used to. And they probably, in the way they probably should. You get a guy on a rookie deal, you kind of like ride out some growing pains. Like you're getting a huge discount to ride out those growing pains, but teams are like, nope, I'd rather play Joe Flacco or Andy Dalton or whatever. That seems like kind of a trend, right? Like a shift in sort of the mindset of the league on how to handle these.
Exactly. And I would rather, so like with that shift, I'd rather have the opposite of this. I'd rather have a great processor who's not a great arm talent than the other way around now.
Yeah. I mean, that seems to be the way things are headed. So, I mean, I think probably the best buys in best ball next year are going to be like the dudes who actually are locked in, but maybe coming off.
I mean, dude, it's a tale. It's a tale.
Years.
It's a tale as old as time. You want in any fantasy sport, you want the guys who are steady producers, who are not sexy, who no one else wants.
Especially a quarterback.
Especially. Just got a great Simpsons quote in my head. Especially a running back, but especially a quarterback. A quarterback, you want Baker Mayfield, you want Kirk Cousins. Like, I don't even know Kirk Cousins' advance rate off the top of my head, but I bet it's really high. I bet Geno's advance. Well, Geno not with Baker or with Metcalf getting injured, but yeah.
We just had a good
game
with them. Stroud is kind of, when I was saying that, I was thinking Stroud. I think Stroud will be just a sick pick next year.
Oh, dude, if Stroud is an 11th round pick,
but I think he will, right?
No, he won't be. He won't. He'll be in Sky Moore's year 2 ADP will always go to show me that the market never learns that much.
You're right.
Sky Moore had like 11 catches and scored his first touchdown in the Super Bowl and was an 8th round pick as like the clearest bust of all time. The market is not going to learn that much.
In an alternate universe, does Caleb Williams is Caleb Williams doing any better with Bobby Slowick as his head coach?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, because Slowick, for all of his faults, does design an offense that can work at the NFL level.
Yeah, that's true.
It appears that the issue with Waldron is that literally it's not just the sequencing of the plays, it's literally the plays themselves. It's like the route combinations and concepts and protections that he's calling that are too brutal to succeed. It's not even just like, oh, he runs on first down too much. It's literally like he's calling.
Yeah.
I don't have the verbiage to it, but it's just like he's calling the play where no one gets open, which is like not what I would call if I was a coordinator.
Don't call the play where no one gets open. Yeah. You know what's so funny? Speaking of, I mean, this is more play design than sequencing, but the Patriots had a play yesterday where they did like the throw it back. Like it was like a dude came around, he hands it to him, then he throws it to a dude, and then he throws it back to Maye, and then Maye kind of like just, and you're like, oh, and he just like does a little screen. It was like for 8 yards. It's like, come on, you You went through all this to just do a screen. Like,
can we not get Javon Baker running in a straight line?
Yeah, like, why are we unlocking a play that's already schemed? Like, you already can get 8 yards on a screen. Like, that's the point of a screen.
Yeah,
it's just we need some offensive minds around these young quarterbacks, man. Please.
Texas called a play yesterday where they faked it to the running back, faked it to the other running back, faked it to a wide receiver on an end around, and then handed it to another wide receiver on the end. So there was 4 play fakes to like literally get like 11 yards. It was like an 11-yard run. And
Alex Van Pelt's watched that play 8 times. He can't get enough.
No, it was a sick play. I was like, run that one again. That was very fun. All right. Then we got to answer the hard one. Where does Caleb Williams go in Best Ball Mania 6?
All right. So Keenan's gone. Rome's there. DJ Moore is there. They re-signed him. So Waldron's gone, which unlocks Cole Kmet. It's a bonus. Right? You get rid of Waldron, you also lose Gerald Everett. So it's like this extra boost.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Yeah. So they bring in, they're not going to fire Eberflus unless it all goes to hell at the end of the year, which it could. But probably Eberflus is there. So you're getting, like, who's the OC? It's like some
dude. Eberflus has got to be gone. You can't. I'm not.
Enough. I don't know.
I'm not living in a world where Eberflus is that. You can't be answering questions about your job in week 10. And
yeah, you're right. They probably.
It's just that's just they just Chicago. The reason why he's not already been fired, I learned this recently, is that basically the Bears have never fired a coach in season. So they're like, we just don't do that.
You're right. So Eberflus is gone. So we're doing Ben Johnson. But I mean, I don't think I'm going there if I'm Ben Johnson. You going there?
There are only so many head coaching jobs. There are only so many head coaching jobs where you think the quarterback is good. And I bet Ben Johnson thinks, because I bet he puts on the film and he's like, look at this throw. Look at that throw. Look at that process.
Can someone just tell Robert Kraft, like, hey, just so you know, if you were to get rid of Mayo, you would have people banging down your door for that job now.
That's not it. Buddy,
he's already. You don't have to get rid of him.
He's already like. I don't know. I couldn't come up with a good bit there. I was trying to. He's like already done something nice for. Like basically the Patriots not being a laughing stock, in their first season without Bill. Giant win, like the biggest win you could imagine.
I know, but it's not because of Mayo.
It's not because of Mayo, but that doesn't matter.
And it's definitely not because of Alex Van Pelt.
It's also definitely not because of Alex Van Pelt.
Took us off track.
I think he's prime Dak range. He's exactly where he went this year.
Yeah, I mean, so he went a couple rounds behind Dak, right? He was like 10. He was outside the top 100, but just barely.
Pick 109.8, and I'll have 27% of him. And,
I think you're right. I think that's right. I think people basically just double down on Williams. But I don't think that's great, right? Like, he's a pocket passer, and he's not consistently getting the ball out. Like, my concern with Williams in year 2 would be that they bring in an offensive. Hopefully they do bring in an offensive coach that we're excited about. But I could see them going run heavy. And one of the concerns with Williams in year 2 is actually that they're like, I know what to do with Williams. We actually need to like limit his passing attempts and keep him kind of coming off play action and doing more like like a more of a Mike McDaniel style thing.
I think because you're protecting the quarterback, you are protecting the scheme, you're minimizing the impact of the offensive line, like all of that stuff. But this happens all the time, by the way. Like there are like millions of instances of this in the NFL history. There are only so many head coaching jobs. Ben Johnson has already said that he wants the Lions job. He is on, or wants the Bears job. There's a lot of that going on. And
if Ben Johnson goes to the Bears, then Williams will go ridiculously high. Like this year didn't happen.
I will be I won't fall for that. I'm not falling for quarterback 6, Caleb Williams.
I think we could get it.
I might fall for quarterback 6. If they take like Tet McMillan or something in the first round, or if Luther Burden, I know Crane, you're probably not there yet on prospects yet, but Luther Burden was like maybe going to be like the first overall pick in the NFL draft this year, but is kind of just having this like bad, lazy, uninspired final season. I wonder if he maybe falls to the second round. If he ends up, super low. Trevor Lawrence went crazy low after the disaster season with Herb. He was like the quarterback 12 or something, and we like thought Trevor Lawrence. We thought by the way, like Trevor Lawrence and Caleb Williams, not even like we thought Trevor Lawrence was the GOAT. Like people thought Trevor Lawrence was like it's not even comparable.
Williams was treated similarly as a prospect. He was like not even people were like not even willing to say he was in the same tier as the other guys.
Man, I don't know. I don't know about that because Lawrence never had that stretch of his college career that was as bad as Caleb was at the end. He was like he was just always good. Yeah, it was this. They did say he was basically Andrew Luck as a prospect.
Yeah.
And he wasn't, but
he was
what can you do? All right. Well, that was about an hour long, an hour longer than we intended, I guess. What can you do? We Crane and I know what we're about, and we are about gas bagging. That is
it's a little free flowing without Sam. I would say there's no Sam. I realize how often Sam kind of directs us back towards the conversation that we're supposed to be having.
We definitely would not have gotten to Jimmy Garoppolo's Eastern Illinois college stats. We definitely,
Sam put a lot of slides together. I don't recall anything as good as the Jimmy Garoppolo Eastern Illinois slideshow.
Oh man, we miss him. We miss him already. I can't wait for we'll get together for an off-season show. What's funny is when we do finally do a show with Sam, he is going to have.
Oh my god!
Like
I don't even know if I can handle it.
There's gonna be like a backup of takes.
Yeah.
And
he's gonna have a book. He's gonna sit down the book of all the takes that we've had that he despises. That now we have.
Man, he is gonna be in a dark place when Cooper Kupp is who you need in Basketball Mania 5. Like when Cooper Kupp rips off 3 straight weeks of 20 plus half PPR points. Like he is gonna be the Arthur Fist meme, but it's gonna be double Arthur Fist. He is gonna be so.
Here's what I want. I just want the ability to see Sam. It's like it's 9:45. And he's like in this meeting, they're all in the conference room, and he's supposed to be paying attention. He's just staring off, just thinking about some horrible take that I had that he just listened to on ADP Chase. God damn it!
Oh yeah, we actually did get robbed though. Sus Edwards making a great point here. Sam would have been so ready to bury the Javonte Williams drafters. I mean, he would have sent all Javonte Williams drafters to jail. Estime with 15 rushes yesterday in a game they should have won, right? In a game they should have won.
Yeah. It's a bad beat for Sam not to have this.
And after Russell Wilson wins a game on a hard count versus Jayden Daniels, and it's the first show that Sam's not on. I mean, truly, he is running bad.
Yeah. It's been a rough morning of meetings for Sam.
He's doing orientation, but like he's on his phone and he's just waiting. What he's doing is he's waiting all day for stealing signals to post and for Gretch to do his mea culpa on Javonte Williams. Like, I know Sam and I know Gretch, and I know that Sam is going to be waiting to see whatever Gretch writes about Javonte. And I know that Gretch is formulating the perfect way to explain why the haters and losers of Javonte were actually
Gretch was really
wrong.
on estimate. He's
Gretch was on the entire thesis of the Broncos backfield, which is that there should have just been a lot of points available. By the way, if you would have told me that the Broncos had a winning record in week 10, whatever my Broncos running back exposure was, buddy, I would have doubled it. Like, however much I had of it, I think I have 15% estimate. I would have just taken him every time. I would have.
And that Nix is good. Like, he doesn't throw to the running backs. That's the crazy part. He doesn't take sacks, but he also doesn't throw to the running backs. It's so strange.
It's true. Gretch did. It's, by the way, this was like one of the bravest stances a fantasy analyst has ever taken, because fantasy analysts, when Richardson do you remember this? When Richardson did the combine, fantasy analysts were like, it was like roaches crawling, or like lobsters trying to get out of the pot. Dude, who could be the highest on Anthony Richardson? Who can say the most outrageously bullish thing on Anthony Richardson?
And it was Kyle Dvorak won that. Kyle Dvorak won that game. I believe Derrick Henry with rocket boosters, I believe is what he said. Kyle won.
Yeah. But Gretch went out on a limb and said, this guy can't throw.
Yeah,
this guy can't throw.
He said he couldn't throw.
Which is important.
He can't throw.
At the quarterback position.
Travis Maye. While we're giving out awards for Anthony Richardson doubt, Travis Maye, big.
I didn't draft very much of him, but I couldn't imagine putting my name on that take on social media. I mean, that is just asking to get town squared for the rest of your life.
Also, I mean, still live for low advance rate guy you need in the playoffs.
Oh my God. Well, so is Justin Fields.
Yeah.
Don't forget.
I have not forgotten. And Aaron Riddle says Sam is the guy in the corner saying they don't know I've got estimating on 15 carries.
I was that guy on Twitter yesterday. I was like, there's a lot going on, but they don't know that Audric Estime started this game for the Denver Broncos and that Javonte Williams went to 0.
That meme is just accurate. Like, I don't think people know.
I actually am, just based on the tenor of social media, I don't think people know that Audric Estime started this game. I don't know, who else do we have to make fun of? What else happened yesterday that was interesting? Kareem Hunt caught 6 passes yesterday. What was up with that?
I don't know, man. What's up with the Chiefs? Like, the Chiefs are just, they're chiefing, man. They're chiefing.
Kareem Hunt got drafted 53 times in Best Ball Mania.
I mean, that's crazy that he got drafted that much. What do you think is going to happen? He's going to land on the Chiefs and run the whole offense around? That's crazy.
Oh, Corain, speaking of your Best Ball Mania advance rate turning around, how about Jaylen Warren looking good yesterday, but then fumbling on what should have been a touchdown?
Do you think? Yeah, come on. There's no victory laps when a guy fumbles at the 1. That was brutal. But
well, Chase Brown fumbled, but I'm still taking victory laps because Khalil Herbert also fumbled.
Right.
Chase Brown.
No, yeah. Warren getting some touches and looking good was nice. I will take that. I didn't really wish he didn't.
Is this fake? Is Calvin Ridley's, like, I can't tell. I don't think Hopkins being traded has any impact on it at all, to be honest.
I think it targets, because Hopkins was getting really high targets per route run. He wasn't on the field a ton, but
yeah, I
think the entire offense funneling through Ridley is why we're getting this. Also, because we're not dealing with Levis. I think this could be a blip if Levis comes back, but
you mean if Rudolph comes back?
Did we have Levis yesterday?
Levis started.
Oh my God. Okay.
I know that because I have an advancing Will Levis.
I just never paid attention to that because I don't care.
Yeah. Well, it's for DF. Well,
you're right.
Ridley
it was Levis. All right. Then I believe it. I guess. If he did it with Levis, he can do it with anyone.
There are 19 Trey Lance CD teams in Best Ball Mania 5. CD, you know what's crazy? CD is going to end up having a worse advance rate than guys who missed. Like, he's going to have a worse advance rate than Puka Nacua.
Who?
CD Lamb is going to have a worse advance rate than a guy who got injured and missed this. And he had a 40-yard 3-point game.
Because he went higher. Because he
Is this true?
He's working out.
I actually, you know what? I actually was about to be scared about that, but I'm not. Leonard Fournette does not matter in the year of our Lord 2024.
No, he doesn't. He couldn't crack the Bills roster last year, or the rotation. I mean, he was on the roster and it meant nothing. He's Dalvin.
All right,
he's in his Dalvin era.
Legendary upside. What are they getting this week?
Well, what you're going to get this week and going forward is some playoff best ball content. So that's where we're going to be.
It should launch this week, I think, right?
Yeah, I believe it's going to launch this week. So playoff best ball content. We're going to have podcasts, written stuff, talking through that. Sacrilegious wrote a really good article last year. We're going to spruce up some of those points. Talk a little bit about this year's teams that are going to be, who we're targeting team wise and everything. And then educational on kind of how to attack this format. And then the sidekick is going to be back up and running for playoff best ball. We had the playoff best ball tool last year, which is kind of a precursor to the sidekick. It's because that was already extremely helpful. I think the sidekick is going to be crushing it for playoff best ball. So check it out over at legendaryupside.com. Also got the walkthrough, my weekly article each week. Matt Irby's quick slants, Stephanie Miller's fabulous football, waiver wire column. We got weekly rankings, rest of season rankings, legendaryupside.com.
All right, everyone, check out legendaryupside.com. Thank you for watching. If you did make it 2 hours and 53 seconds into this video, just reply, is Caleb Williams a bust? That's all I want to know from you. Is Caleb Williams a bust? Yes, no, maybe. Apply the context. Is Caleb Williams a bust? We will be back on the stream tomorrow. Adios. It's Short King Summer, dude. It just feels like no one in fantasy sports ever learns anything. Does he mistime it, or is Brock Bowers just a grown man? Brock Bowers is just a grown man. Dare I say, Rich, football might be back. In the words of Lane Johnson, this offense looks constipated. It's short.